That's true.
When researchers first laid eyes on the Titanic's wreck in 1985, something immediately puzzled them. The front of the ship was remarkably intact, almost serene in its stillness, preserved by the icy depths. But the back of the ship was brutally torn apart and lay almost 2,000 feet away from the bow. How could two parts of the same ship, sunk at the same time, be in such vastly different conditions and so far apart? Could it be that something more happened that night, something we still don't fully understand? It was April 15, 1912. The Titanic was over 700 kilometers from Newfoundland, Canada, isolated in the middle of the North Atlantic. On board were 2,240 passengers and crew. By morning, over 1,500 had perished. The ship, once dubbed unsinkable, had slipped beneath the waves in under 3 hours. The only clues to what happened came from the survivors, those who escaped into lifeboats or braved the freezing Atlantic. No one had recordings, photos, or logs from the ship's final moments. Even the first rescue vessel, RMS Carpathia, arrived over an hour after Titanic disappeared beneath the waves. Initially, the official inquiry blamed a 300-foot gash on the starboard side caused by the iceberg. Eyewitnesses confirmed the iceberg strike, and even traces of Titanic's red hull paint were found on the iceberg. But some experts began to question the size of the damage. If a 300-foot gash had truly torn open the ship's hull, it should have sunk in minutes, not in 2.5 hours. For decades, that contradiction nagged at researchers, until they finally located the wreck in 1985, over 4,000 meters beneath the surface. What they discovered surprised everyone. There was no 300-foot gash. Instead, researchers identified a much smaller 30-foot fracture covering about 11 square feet. Hydrodynamic analysis showed this damage could have led in about 370 gallons of water every second, just enough to flood and sink the ship in about 2.5 hours, exactly matching survivor accounts. But this only solved part of the mystery. Why was the stern so violently destroyed while the bow remained almost serene? To find out, a team used high-resolution sonar scans and thousands of deep-sea images to create a detailed 3D model of the wreck. What they saw was astonishing. The 392-foot-long stern looked like a steel accordion. Its decks had collapsed into one another, twisted and shattered, with massive engines still visible. Thousands of artifacts, dinnerware, furniture, personal belongings, were scattered across a 3.2 square kilometer debris field. So what happened? Analysis of the ocean floor markings revealed something new. When the stern section fell, it was spinning counterclockwise and descending at over 80 kilometers per hour. The immense pressure and turbulence shredded the ship's rear structure before it even hit the seafloor. Meanwhile, the bow, designed with a smooth, hydrodynamic shape, descended gracefully, cutting through water with minimal resistance. That's why it remains eerily preserved. But another question remains: when exactly did the Titanic break in two? Survivors described the ship splitting before the final plunge, but sonar mapping suggests something more complex. Yes, the ship began breaking at the surface, but it didn't completely separate until deep underwater. The bow plunged first, pulling the stern nearly vertical, placing massive stress on the ship's midsection. Eventually, it broke apart, and the stern section spiraled down, landing over 600 meters from the bow. The final mystery? Time is now running out to study the wreck. Rust-eating bacteria, fueled by oxygen even in the deep, are rapidly consuming the Titanic. Experts predict that within a few decades, the entire structure may collapse into a rusted heap, erasing the last visible evidence of this legendary ship. And with it, perhaps, the final clues to the most haunting maritime mystery of all time.